Hey everybody, this is Kevin with My Game PC Computer Solutions, and in this video I'm going to show you how to correct or repair the boot manager is missing error in Windows operating system. So on the screen here in Windows operating system, when the startup file system gets corrupted, many errors can occur. This particular machine is displaying the boot manager is missing error. It says to press Ctrl-Alt-Delete, but that does not really do anything. In the case that you might have the recovery media, you might attempt a recovery process, but this particular machine was denied its update, which means this customer cut the computer off in the middle of an update. And if you're not familiar, what that does is it breaks the computer. You can't use recovery media, and there's pretty much nothing you can do other than try to do some form of data recovery and then reinstall your OS. So while I have it in this condition, it's going to run the MemTest86 software, and this tests the RAM. So by this computer being a little older, I'm going to go ahead and give it a RAM test to make sure there's no other problems, because I will be opening this machine up to remove the hard drive, to remove any data that may be on the file system. So we're going to go Ctrl-Alt-Delete, and on this machine it's F10, goes into the BIOS. We are going to go to the boot order. We're going to move the floppy up. On this machine, you hit enter and you drag that to the top, and you hit enter, then we escape. Save changes. Yes, now it's going to boot back into my USB drive, which has the MemTest86. This is a graphical user interface. As you can see, this is the newest version. This software is free from memtest86.com. You need about an 8 gig USB stick to perform this. Here you can select your types of tests. By default, as you can see here, they're all highlighted. They're going to run all of these tests. It takes the better part of an hour for a machine of this caliber. You can deselect these if you're familiar with what each of these do as far as the RAM goes, but take a break, let this run its full course, and it'll tell you what's going on. So in this case, we're going to click Start Test. It gives you information on the PC. You have your clock speed and your temperature, your memory size, RAM info. This particular machine runs a PC3, where the test is at 2%. This is test 4. Down here it tells you the CPUs in the system. This is a dual-core AMD processor. And right here you have your pass and your fails, or in this case it says errors. If you have errors, it's going to tell you at what range in your memory amount that the errors occurred. And that'll let you know on which DIMM that the error is occurring, so you'll know which DIMM to replace. I have already done this test on this machine, and it does not have any RAM issues. The memory is in perfect working order. Alright, so in this machine you have one screw on the side here, one on the other side. You have a push release on the base. You work your way around the sides with a standard set of plastic pry tools for computers. Don't use anything metal or hard because it'll damage the case. Then you work your way to the top, and then it slides off the front. You're into the machine. An all-in-one PC is basically a laptop computer configuration. So for this, we're going to be removing the hard drive. Alright, so for the data recovery, what I've done is I've gotten my WD 1 terabyte jump pack, which is essentially a drive I've taken out of a dead laptop and put it in an external enclosure. I've got a docking station. I've got the customer's hard drive in it. On a mechanical drive such as this versus a solid state, when Windows is installed, it creates the maximum 4 partitions that you'll have when a disk is set up as a master boot record. So in this case, we have the reserved. We don't need that. We have system F. We don't need the recovery partition. I'm going to look in this one, the local disk. And as you can see here, I've got the users, I've got Windows, I've got programs. So under here, I'm going to go with users. These 2 files right here is all that was ever on this individual's desktop. They had a link to a web page, then they had a folder they stored things in. I don't actually have to see the files to work with them. They don't have anything in documents. They have a couple of things in downloads, not really concerned with those. Web favorites, we can save those. I'm going to take the entire user account over. Okay, so while the files are transferring, I went on ahead and ran what is called Hard Disk Sentinel version 5. It is a tool used to check the status of your hard drives. It works for any hard drive, whether it be M.2, NVMe, SSD, spin up, hybrid, you name it. As long as it's connected to the system, it'll read it. This particular drive is surprising me because, I mean, it is a Seagate, and it's not the high-end Barracudas. It's more the lower end, so that might be one of the reasons it's Radley, but according to this test, it's in perfect condition. No bad sectors. Here is the Seagate drive. This drive's power on time, 500 days, 9 hours. It's got an estimated lifespan remaining of more than 1,000 days. Its total read-write counts are 1,981. So although this computer was built in 2012, it must have sat around unused for quite a while, or the owner just uses it extremely intermittently. But that's very little usage on this old drive, and it's in perfect health. So we're gonna just let the owner know that there's some hard drive noise, just to be aware of it, and we'll move on from there. All right, so now the data backup or recovery is completed. I'm going to reinstall the hard drive back into the machine. I went into command prompt while this was connected to my laptop, ran the disk part command, the list disk command. I selected this disk and did the cleaning process. It essentially puts it back to a state of sort of out of the box, kind of brand new, for the operating system to lay on properly. And you just return this the same way you took it out. Excuse me. Lay it in place, slide it back into the SATA port. Put the case back together. Then we'll install the OS. Alright, so what I have is my Windows 10 64 ISO file. I'm going to install this into the USB port on the PC. And we're going to boot the computer. Once Windows 10 is installed and fully updated, I will recreate the user's account exactly as it was labeled on the old drive setup, and then I'll relay the information from those files in place of the newly created files. Then when he boots back in, everything should look as it did before for that user account. As you see here, the license key from the Windows 7 OS was accepted by Windows 10, and from this point We will just let it run, and then I'll connect it to the internet temporarily to gain its updates.